So let's begin to wind this down. So someone mentioned we should look at BSc. It's not something that's before it was one of those things I'll look at, but not anymore. Not a big fan of banks. All right, so let's start by looking at the financials. So let's go to overview. Okay, free float shares. That's fine. So let's go to statements. Let's look at the income statement. All right. So, okay. We'll say a bit decent. All right, a bit decent. Let's look at the cash flow. Free cash flow. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So this is one of the reasons why it is off. It's not something that I will personally be watching. All right, well, let's continue. Statistics.
No.
All right, so let's what is this? All right. Current ratio. Usually I want this to be around 1. Problematic, but still okay. Let's manage it. Let's still close our eyes a little bit to it. Now, we want to look at your non-performing loans for banks. We want to be looking at non-performing loans, percentage of what it makes up the whole loan distance. So, well, that's still fair. Now, debt to equity ratio is still fair. All right, it's still less than 2. So that's still the same. So the only issue we had is the issue with their free cash flow. And free cash flow is a very, very, you would see in the, when we are looking at building your watch list, cash flow is a key one, right? It's not something you overlook because that is basically the money that is available to share. All right, now let's look at the earnings. All right, let's see, increasing, drop, increase, drop, increase, projected to drop a little, increase. You can say it's okay from here. All right, on most things it's okay, but on free cash flow, it's really, really not good. All right, so let's assume we decide to ignore all this and still invest in it. Now, remember, banks are cyclical, right? Banks are cyclical, so you only want to get involved with banks when they have dropped by at least 35%. So you scrap the 20%, the 20% level. You're only getting involved with cyclicals when they have dropped by like 35% or more. All right. So if we look at the dates that we wrote that corresponds with when the overall stock market gave us a reason to begin to consider to buy, we had 2018, right? December 2018. All right, so right here. So let's check. Has it fallen by 35% from these highs? No. This is, it fell to about 31%, not up to 5%. So we're going to leave it. So now 2020, yeah, this one definitely fell by up to 35%. Did it fall up to 50? Oh, yes, it did. Right, so it fell just to 50. So we would have had our two buy levels filled on this, right? So your first level would have been at the 35% level. So we'll use it. So that would have been around 23.20. So 23.2, that is where you would have gotten your first buy level. Now remember, unlike what we did before, you're not going to add the one from 20% because we don't have a 20% level for cyclicals. For cyclicals, we only want to get involved with cyclicals when they're in a deep discount. So you would have gotten in at that, oh, forgotten the number again. I need to write it down so I don't forget what I'm talking.
21.2.
Okay, 21.2. So 21.2, where is it today? Is at 38.76. So higher, but not by much. Those are the kind of things you expect with cyclicals. Ideally, with cyclicals, one of the things you want to do with cyclicals is you allow it to go up, but once it's overpriced by a bit, say 50% above its intrinsic value, you basically want to reduce your holdings by like 50% or thereabout and hold the remaining. So let's look at the next date that we have. That was 2022. This is a business we don't really like, but we'll still look at it. So June, 13th June. Where is this coming from? 13th of June. That would have been somewhere here. Please, just a moment. All right. So we would have gotten in. Let's see. That's 5%. Nope. Wait. That 5% came in at, let's see, 32.7. So 32.7 right now is at 38.7. So just disappointing. So that is one of the things you get when you don't invest in a very good business. So it's higher than where we bought it, but not really a great performer. So that is why all those things I mentioned ahead of time, it's really important. So let's jump to the next one. Someone suggested I do one on Netflix. Netflix is also not a company I have on my watch list, but let's run through it. Netflix. It's NC. All right, so as always, we'll start from financials. Overview, free float shares, yeah, that's what we want to see. So we'll go to statements, look at the income statements. Income statements, we are looking at the annual statements. So a history of consistently increasing Revenue, yes. Let's look at the gross profits as well. Yes, increasing. What is it called? Net income increasing as well. All right. Let's look at cash flow. So look at the free cash flow. Negative, 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 negative. It's only last year that it turned positive. So the free cash flow has been negative from 2017 to now until last year. So definitely not a business I will really be looking to put money into. But let's look at the other things. All right, current ratio. Usually want this to be one or more. So let's see. Oh, okay, fair enough. Debt to equity, we want this to be less than 2. Fair enough as well on debt. Let's look at the earnings. All right, increasing earnings, increasing earnings projected to grow. So in future, this could become a great business. In future, it could become a great business. But for now, the past is that it's not good. The future is that, okay, the future might be good. So it's up to you if you want to. I don't invest based on future projections. The past must be good before you want to get involved. If the future, when the future gets good, I'll come back. That is my own approach to it. I remember 2022. For those of you who are not, might not have been doing this, several companies showed us shaggy, maximum shaggy, before I decided to just sit down and come up with uh, to stop playing around. If it doesn't meet, it doesn't meet. You don't look at other ones and say, oh, the other ones we are good. No, if it doesn't meet it, it doesn't meet it. Just forget about it. All right, so we were told to start buying. That was somewhere here, 13th of June. So funny enough, with this one, you would have gotten in at at the bottom of the bottom, but it still wasn't a great business. It still wasn't a great business. So by this time, when you would have been getting in, it had dropped about 74%. So we had gotten in here about 182. Current price is 703. So that is great. But Netflix, in my opinion, for now, still not a great business. It has the potential to become a great one, but and then one of the key issues, we are talking about the issue of moats and all that. When you really think about it, does it have a wide moat? When you're talking about a wide moat, what are the competitors? Who are the people that can easily disrupt them? Can they be easily disrupted? Yes. A whole lot of platforms now are beginning to offer streaming services. So there are several of them that are coming on board now. So will they continue to enjoy that competitive advantage like that? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. And for now, they are just turning profitable. So I'll urge caution with this one. All right, I think we still have a little bit of time. So let me dive into other ones that someone asked us to check. So let's look at Tesla. And then, but let's look at NVIDIA. We'll be looking at bad businesses. Let's look at one good one. Let's look at NVIDIA. So I have NVIDIA on my own watch list. Actually, this was a very good one for 2022. So if you go to the website, you would have seen this was one of the standout examples from 2022. So we start with the financials as usual. Overview, free float shares, yes. Um, let's look at the statements. Start with the income statement. The reason why I don't look at these balance sheets, usually, personally, when I'm looking to build, I'm looking at a company for the first time, I usually like to run through the whole things. And that's one thing you will just learn how to do with time. Personally, I had this thing of working with my dad, who is a financial consultant for a while. So it just got me used to financial statements and all that. But it seems that you can actually learn, you can actually pick up with time much easily. If you really want to go through it and look out for the things you want to uh, get from there. But all those things, if you just pay attention to the things I point out, you don't necessarily have to run through the whole thing to get a good sense of the business. So if we look at the income statements, remember what we are looking out for. Well, all right, so we want to see the history of growth. All right, so you can see this starting out small, growing, growing, growing. The growth last year was tremendous, but you can always see from before then it was already growing, growing, growing. Gross margins growing, income. There was a dip here, but other than that, it has been growing. Then 2022, so Charlie bought in here, so I didn't know that this will happen. So overall, a decent business from this part. Let's look at the cash flow. All right, so you could see before 2022 why that was such a good buy for me. It had been positive all through. 2017 positive, 2018 positive, 2019 positive, 2020 positive, 2021 positive. All right, so the 5 years preceding, we had a history of consistent increasing free cash flow. This free cash flow, if you don't check any other thing, this is like, this is a holy grail, one of the holy grails in picking great businesses. The free cash flow, a history of consistently increasing free cash flow. All right. So then we had this blip, and then which was overcome by the crazy performance last year, right? All right. So then let's look at other statistics as well. We want to look at debt. Now, the current ratio, we want a situation where we want it to be more than 2. Look at this. Look at this. Why won't you love this business? 8, 7, 7, 4, 6. Not like the other businesses where you are struggling. It's just like, sorry, you want this to be more than 1, rather. You are struggling to have it. They're just meeting up 1, 1.2, 1.0, 0.9. See what you are seeing here. It shows this company is so solvent. It's so solvent, it can pay its liabilities several times over. All right, let's continue. Debt to equity. Look at this. We wanted this to be less than 2. You're having 0.27, 0.21, 0.22, 0.46. The results that we eventually saw was not a fluke. It had been in the statements right from time. So people are now looking at it like, oh, it was luck. It wasn't luck. The growth was not luck. It had been in the statements. The price did not yet reflect it, but it had been in the statements that this was a terrific business. So now you see all this. This is like, wow, why is the price crashing? As we'll see, the price fell by almost 50%, if not more. So let's go back to that. All right. Now, from the highs here, we measure, yeah, fell by 68%. Are people not mad? Are people not crazy? How will the share price of such a terrific business fall by 68%? But as Warren Buffett said, the temporal mispricing is what provides opportunity. So once you know that this is a very, very solid business, you are not bothered when you see it. In fact, the further it drops, the more you're salivating because you know this is a terrific business. It's such a great business on its own that you don't really care about what is happening to the price in the short term. The business was too good in business. All right, now where do we get in from? Remember 13 June, so somewhere here, right? It falls there. It's already at our 50% level. It has fallen by 59% by the time we are interested in getting it. What is your entry price? 14.17. Now, this is adjusted based on the recent stock splits that they did. So that is 14.17. 14.17. What is the current price? NVIDIA has fallen by almost 8% this week. NVIDIA has fallen by almost 8% this week, and the price is still at 102. You would have gotten in at 14. Let's do the maths. This is where you actually get the power of those high growth stocks that I talked about, your technology stocks, your communication stocks, and or what have you. So 14.42. Current price 102. 102 divided by 14.8. That is 6.8, 6.8x, almost 7x of what you put in. Now, assuming what you had was $9 to put into NVIDIA, let's just assume I'm using that as an illustration. So your $3 should have been at 20%, but 20% hasn't dropped into where we want it to drop. 35% still hadn't dropped into there. It was below 50% that it actually dropped into where we wanted to drop into. That is where you would have loaded it up. So your $9 would have become close to about become $60 or thereabouts. Right? That is what we want to look at. So the last one we'll look at this night, and then I'll talk about how you can actually buy these shares right from here in Nigeria and from all over the world, different platforms that you can use. All right, let's look at Tesla. Tesla is going to be the last one we look at. I don't like Tesla for two reasons. The reason why I also, if you knew before now, I used to be a big fan of Berkshire, but I've removed Berkshire from my watch list, and that is because, and in fact, I don't have any share anymore in Berkshire. Not that I don't think that it's still a great business, but the fact that it is really being fronted by one main individual. My worry is what happens to that one individual. What if something happens to Warren Buffett today? He's already very old and he dies. What happens to Berkshire Hathaway? Right? The same thing with Tesla. What happens if something happens to what's his name? Elon Musk? What happens? That's already one concern before we even look at the financials. All right, so let's start with the financials overview. Yeah, free float shares. You wonder if this is always the case. Well, go and look at Dangote Cement, and you know why you always want to look at that. All right, history of increasing revenue very clearly, gross profits very clearly. However, I want you to note something. Let's look at net income. What do you notice about the net income? Look at the figures. Minus. minus, minus. Okay, this was positive. This was positive. But 2019 minus, 2018 minus, 2017 minus. So it has recently started becoming a great business. It has just started becoming a great business. It doesn't yet have up to a 5-year track record of net income increasing, right? For the first, for 2017, 2018, 2019, the net income was actually negative. It was losing money. It made losses. It didn't make profits. It made losses. All right. Now, let's look at cash flow. All right, 2017 negative, others positive. All right. So it passes the cash flow tests to some extent, but sales, net income, failing that already. Let's look at the debt. Let's look at debt aspect of it. All right, current ratio above 1, good. Debt to equity, also good, actually. All right, debt to equity is also good. So the only two, let's look at earnings and then I'll now make my final comments on finances. Wow. 2017 earnings were negative, 2018 earnings were negative, 2019 it was 0. So 2020, it has recently started growing, just like we saw with the earnings. 2023, it has dropped again. Earnings have dropped again. So Tesla for me is just there. And then it's a cyclical business as well. Right? They are producing motor vehicles. People don't need it to survive. So if the economy is doing well, they'll buy it. If the economy is not doing so well, they don't buy it. So let's look at the periods we could have gotten in. So 13 June, it hadn't yet fallen into where we wanted to fall, right? So where did it fall into where we wanted to fall? So we touched this at our 55, that falling 55% before it dropped into where we wanted to be. And that would have been at 186. So you bought it at 186, the price currently is 210. Above your buy price, but not by much. So now let's also look at 2020. 2020 didn't fall into 2020. It was one of the most hyped stocks, really hyped stocks. It didn't even fall enough into where we have wanted it to be, and then it have gone in. And of course, at this period, this thing was still a business that was losing money. So what is basically happening now is the market is beginning to realize this was pumped up so much on hype. The hype might not be sustained. We'll see what happens and all that. Then the next thing is Tesla is a company that has what we call a high capex. So capital expenses. They have to, because they are into manufacturing. Companies that are generally into manufacturing, especially of heavy goods, a whole lot of money is needed. They need to keep on investing and investing and investing and investing to keep the business going. So it has a way, their profitability is usually limited a bit. And then a whole lot of vehicles, BYD from China, is beginning to encroach on the electric vehicles market and all that, even with the almost 100% taxes that US and Canada are putting on vehicles, electric vehicles from China to stop them from hitting into the domestic markets, it's still really affecting them. So, okay, business, but I will not get involved personally with Tesla. And you see, it's not, you will generally see that on my watch list, you don't have a whole lot of industrials on my watch list. because industrials generally struggle, manufacturing companies generally struggle. It was something I saw working with SMEs here in Nigeria, but it's also something that you see happening worldwide. Manufacturing companies, their margins, they don't really have that competitive advantage. If you increase the price of your vehicle too much, they'll go and buy a competitor's vehicle. It's as simple as that. There is no, the only reason why Tesla has been doing so well so far is the brand loyalty that they've been able to gather. Once that brand loyalty begins to dissipate with other cheap electric vehicles coming on board, Ford now is getting into electric vehicles. Chrysler too is getting into electric vehicles. So once those options begin to abound, it begins to cut into margins. Tesla has been reducing their prices. They're not increasing. Remember what I said at the beginning. You want companies that are able to increase prices. Now they've been forced to cut prices. Those are not the kind of companies you want to really get involved with. All right, we need to wrap up. We have 5 minutes left. So I need to get into how to actually buy stocks from Nigeria. Now, if you're in Nigeria, the easiest way to buy into the US market is to use something like Bamboo. So you can use the Bamboo app. Sign up an account. Usually be required to add your BVN or NIN. Virtually the whole process that you're required, because they are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So the virtual things that you are required to open a bank account with, they usually demand that from you as well. Then you can fund your account with Naira and then convert the Naira to USD and buy the shares on the app. And when you want to sell, you also do all the transactions on the app. Usually, if you want to buy, the buying is almost instant. All right, then I'll try to address your question. You can usually do that. Now, if you are outside Nigeria, one of your best bets, you can look at foreign brokers such as Charles Schwab. You can look at Interactive Brokers. The problem you have with that from Nigeria is that most of those brokers don't accept people from Nigeria. It's really crazy. They don't accept people. In fact, you will not see Nigeria among the countries. Like in selecting your countries, you will not see Nigeria. So for now, you are left with using Bamboo. There was Trove a couple of years back. They had some issues. I'm not sure whether they're still around, but I've been using Bamboo. Bamboo is what I've been using personally. So that is what I recommend.
Trove is still around. That's
Huh?
what I use.
It's still around.
Still around. That's what I use. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you could use Trove as well, since they're still around. But I've not used it personally, so I can't really talk about it. So you can use Bamboo. So okay, Dell was asking questions as regards to, suppose one wants to do something with locally in Nigeria. The problem with Nigeria, investing in Nigeria, is the exchange rate. It is the depreciation of the currency. That is my key issue. Even if they are paying you 26%, the currency is depreciating way faster than that. That is the key problem that you are going to face. Investing in mutual funds, federal government bonds, those are the safest investments because there's no risk of it going down. Hopefully, Nigeria doesn't do something crazy and all that. There's no real chance of it going down. They're going to pay you what they say they will pay you and all that. It's very, very safe. But personally, I'm not investing in any. See, except you are like 60. Stocks are still way better than bonds in every way of it. In every way. In every way. Instead of investing in what's it called? Bonds and all those things, I would rather go and invest in dividend yielding defensive companies. Companies like Pepsi. In fact, as of the time I posted my entry prices on Pepsi and Johnson & Johnson, the prices were way below my entry level. If you just look at the website, I gave you free buy entry. Because my entry as of, that was beginning of July, the prices were still below my entry prices. They've gone up now by like 5-10%. So I'm not sure whether you still want to enter at those prices and all that. But that is what I would basically do. I would rather invest in dividend yielding stocks. If it's in US, I am profiting from the likely depreciation of the currency as well, if it continues to do what it's doing. So that is my own takeaway. So any other questions, let's ask it on the Telegram, on the Heroes platform. I'll answer them because our time is already fast spent. I don't want us to go another round. If you have any questions, let's ask it there and I'll answer. And if need be, I'll consider doing another of these maybe in a month's time. And see what it looks like. All right. Thanks for joining. I said I was going to talk about the Ebola affiliate. I'll just record a video and send it for those of you who want to become trade experts affiliates. There's no more time to disclose that in this particular webinar. All right. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.